She was the only person on the station still allowed to forget, and she had forgotten why that was a mercy. The thought came and went, the way thoughts did now, leaving nothing behind. Her hands kept on without her. Thumb to the smoothed corner of the plate, press twice. The artifact up into the light, the quarter turn left, square to the grid. 11 years of a sequence she couldn't remember learning, running clean through fingers that knew it better than she did. She reached for the tag field. The file opened with a layer beneath the layer, a seam down low where the wipe didn't reach and nothing was supposed to keep, and her hand stopped on the plate. She looked at it a while. Somebody had left something down there, below the line where the forgetting ran out. The somebody she would find had her hands. Something in the file sat wrong, not the tablet, the audio attached to it, a field recording someone had made of a teacher reciting the alphabet to children, the kind of incidental thing the archive kept by the thousand. The waveform ran long past where the voices stopped. Dead air, the system would call it. There was too much of it. She marked the entry to come back to and reached for the next item in the queue because that was the order of the work, and the order of the work held when nothing else did. The door announced Sonnet before he was through it. He came in already talking, the way people did when their recall meant they never lost the thread of a thought between rooms. "You're behind on the Corvain batch," he said. "Oversight wants it closed today. I told them you'd have it." She didn't turn from the console. "It's in the queue." "It's been in the queue 4 days." He stood at her shoulder, not sitting, never sitting in here. The room made him restless. "I need your sign-off by end of shift or it rolls to me, and I'm not eating your backlog again." He paused. She felt him deciding whether to say the next part. "I don't know how you do it. Come in every day to a job you've never done." "I do it fine." "That's not what I meant." He did mean it, partly. She heard both things in his voice, the way the recalled all looked at her, the woman who got to set things down. "End of shift?" he said again, and left the room. She sat with the queue and did not open the Corvain batch. Her hand had gone back to the spelling tablet's entry on its own, to that long tail of dead air, and she let it, brisk through everything else, slow here, though she could not have said why she was slowing. She opened the audio in the editor she almost never used, the one for repairing damaged files, and pulled the view down into the silence past the voices. It was not silent. Under the noise floor, where the wipe that ran on her at the end of each shift would never think to reach because the wipe touched her memory and not the files, there was a second layer, a track laid into the seam of the recording, below the level anyone listening for content would ever scan. It was a voice. She brought it up out of the noise and realized it was her own. She knew it the way you know your face is your face and still flinch at it in a photograph. The pitch was right and the placement was wrong. The sound a voice makes from inside the skull against the sound it makes in a room. It said her name. Not the catalogue name, not the name Sennett used. A name she had not heard anyone say, that she could not remember being called, and her own recorded voice said it like it was nothing, like it was just how you'd start. She stopped the playback. Her hands were flat on the console edge, on the smoothed place where the laminate had worn through to the under material from however many shifts of exactly this, and she had not put them there on purpose. It was hers. Before it spoke, in the half-second of noise coming up, she had braced for a forgery, some cruelty left for her to find. The 3 words had closed that off. The question now was a different one, and worse, and she came to it through the structure rather than the sound. She looked at how the track was hidden, not dropped in raw. The seam had been prepared, a notch cut in the file's architecture exactly sized to hold a voice track below the scan threshold, cut to a method, cut by someone who had cut it before. And then she saw the thing that took the floor out from under the morning, plain in the metadata she filed by reflex 100 times a day. The seam carried a small index, a count. The notch had been opened and opened again, and the figure attached to it was not 1 and not 2. She had been doing this, not once, against protocol, in some lone crisis she could imagine and forgive. Many times, across erasures she had no recollection of, coming to this same seam and leaving this same voice, the wipe taking the memory each time, a later her finding it new each time. She had built her whole day on the woman before her having filed honestly. That woman had been breaking the rule and rebuilding it in the dark over and over. Moved to start the wipe early. It was a clean motion, the most practiced one she had, the gesture that ended every shift and sealed the day she'd never have. Thumb and 2 fingers, the inward press. She got as far as the first contact, the cool stud under her thumb that her thumb had touched 10,000 times. Not knowing was the whole architecture of the job, and she had just been handed a reason to want it more than she ever had. File the batch, run the wipe, wake tomorrow to a console and a chair and a spelling tablet she'd never seen. Her hand came off the control. She moved the playback to the marked point, track 9, the one the index pointed to, and she let it run. Her own voice, lower than she carried it, careful in the way of someone who knows the recording is the only copy. "Okay," it said. I'm not going to do this well." A pause, long, the breath of someone choosing what to spend the time on. "There was a girl today, in the spelling thing. You'll have it, the tablet, I left it on top so you'd find this." Another pause. "She's saying the letter's wrong. The teacher keeps correcting her, and she keeps. And the teacher's not angry, the teacher just says it again." The voice stopped. When it came back, it had given something up. "I wanted you to have her. I keep her and then they take her, so I'm giving her to you instead. I don't know, that's the whole thing." A small flat sound, not quite a laugh. "It's a kid saying her letter's wrong. I don't know why it." Okay, that's it." The track ended. The dead air ran on under it. The room's air ran on over it, and she sat inside both. The voice had not been speaking to the dark. It had been speaking to her exactly, a stranger it had never met and known it would reach, and been right. And behind it the structure had already laid the rest out. This voice was one link. Another her had left another track for it to find, and another behind that. And the girl saying her letter's wrong had come down the chain, hand to hand to hand, kept by women none of whom could remember keeping her until she'd arrived here, in this chair, in these ears. She filed the spelling tablet. The hand knew it. Thumb to the catalogue field, 2 fingers drawing the provenance, the inward press that locked it. The motion ran out as it always did, the entry closed, and the close did not hold. She sat with the tablet filed and the girl still in the room, the routine run to its end and gone hollow under her, and she did not reach for the cue. The Corvain batch sat unopened. End of shift was coming regardless. Sennett would eat the backlog, or he wouldn't. She opened the seam. Her hands found the notch's edges as they found everything the made place built to be recognized. She set the recorder to lay a track below the threshold, into the dark where the wipe didn't go, pressed to start it, and then she had to say something, and the saying was harder than all of it. "I heard you," she said. Stopped. The recording took the silence. I heard the girl, the letters. Her hand was on the console edge, on the worn-through place. I'm not going to keep her either. I can't. You know I can't. None of us. So I'm..." She stopped again. "There's a man here today. He came in and he said he didn't know how I do it, the job, coming in fresh every... And I wanted to tell you, he looks at me like I'm... But that's not..." The hand pressed flat. "That's not what I wanted to leave you. I don't know what I wanted to leave you. The girl. You'll have the girl. I'm putting her. I'm leaving the tablet on top." A long breath. "There's a lot of us. I didn't know that until today. You'll find that out the same way. I guess. I can't. There's no way to make it gentler. I'm sorry." The sentence did not finish. Okay. That's it. She stopped the recording. She seated the track into the seam, and her hands cut the notch's edge a half-degree cleaner than she'd found it, the way you leave a thing for someone and set the index forward by 1. She put the spelling tablet's entry to the top of the queue, where the next of them would meet it first thing. Then she reached for the stud under her thumb, the cool, worn one, and ran the wipe. Her hand made the motion it made 10,000 times, thumb and 2 fingers, the inward press, and this time it closed clean, all the way, sealed and held, because there was nothing left in her for it to catch on. The chair held her shape. In the seam, below where the dark started, the girl said her letters rang into a quiet that would keep her until morning, when a woman with no memory of this chair would settle into it like it was new, and find a tablet left on top, and a tale of dead air running too long.